Here's the second video, or the second story. So the second story is this. There was another individual that I spoke with when we got into it. We were just sitting around like after lunch or something, having a talk, and we were talking about Bitcoin. I can't remember how it came up, but this particular individual that's working, he's a mining operation tech along with all the rest of us, has zero knowledge of Bitcoin, zero understanding of what Bitcoin is, yet it's feeding his family. So me personally, if I'm going to get a job in something, I'm going to know about it. I'm going to look it up. Like for this company I'm working for, before I accept the job, I gave them a background check in my own way. Like I absolutely researched them to the end of the earth as much as I could to make sure that if I'm going to move my all the way out to Georgia, it better be goddamn worth it. And I was convinced that it was worth it. And so far, I'm still convinced that I made the right choice. So anyway, this individual has absolutely no knowledge about Bitcoin. And he said so himself. He admitted, he's like, I ain't got no idea about Bitcoin. And you know what? That's fine. I'm not judging him for it. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's just interesting from my point of view, hearing somebody say that. And in this particular conversation, what was brought up was he said that he didn't understand how you could buy less than one Bitcoin. So in other words, he did not understand that Bitcoin is divisible. And I immediately said, well, dollars are divisible. Dollars are divisible by 100. You 1 penny is 1/100th of a dollar. And so how do you not understand this? And I feel like some people, and I've observed this in other things in my life, particularly with math and science, where the moment the subject is brought up, they just shut down. And it's not that they're not intelligent. It's not that they're incapable. It's that they have been programmed or sort of conditioned, or they have just convinced themselves that I cannot think about these things. And it was like, man, you mean to tell me you don't understand how a pizza is divided? There's okay, look, bro, there's one pizza. You cut it in half, it's a half pizza. You cut both those in half again, and now you got a quarter of a pizza. You know what I mean? Like, and you cut those in half, now you got an eighth. Like, just how hard is this? Now just do it by factors of 10. It's not hard. This is not hard to understand. This is very easy to understand. You just have to be willing to put in the effort and you have to be willing to put in the study. Like that I'm not going to deny that I didn't come to Bitcoin and understand it fully right out the gate either. You know what I mean? But you do have to be willing to put in a little energy, put in a little heart and soul into it, and just say like, okay, I need to figure this out. And I'm gonna deploy some of my own time and energy into trying to learn what this is and figure it out. There have been so many epiphanies for me where it was like, oh, it's actually really simple. I was convincing myself that it was more complicated than it really is. For example, the divisibility of Bitcoin. I remember the first time that I saw, less than one Bitcoin, like either being purchased or, just displayed in some kind of way in which the decimals went out like 9 digits or 8 digits. And I remember going like, I don't get it. What is this? This is confusing. But if I'd have just stopped it for a moment and just gone, okay, wait a minute. Well, first I need to answer some rudimental questions. Number one, how far does it go? Right now, Bitcoin is only divisible by 100 million. So that is 8 digits to the right of the decimal point. So the 1 of the 100 million is to the left of the decimal. And then the 8 remaining digits are to the right. That right there, if you're listening to this and you don't understand the divisibility of Bitcoin, that right there should blow your mind. Just think about that for a second. Just take the number 1/100 million. Just 100 million. Okay? Now put a decimal to the right of the first 1, or the only 1. Okay, 1 period. That's 1 Bitcoin. So now you have, if you just understand that fundamentally just from the start, now you have the framework. Now you have everything you need to know about the divisibility of Bitcoin. So one of the smallest divisions of Bitcoin is called a Satoshi. That is 1/100 millionth of a Bitcoin. So that is 0. Bitcoin. That's 1 Satoshi. Or for short, we call it a sat. And by the way, today is Saturday, which is great. Today's Saturday. Saturday. And I'm teaching you all about sats if you don't know about it. So think of a sat like a dollar. Or if you want, you could think of it like a penny. Or you can think of it like a penny, if a penny was 1/100 millionth of a dollar, right? You can think of it that way. So 100 sats is like $100. 100,000 sats is like $100,000. Now, in terms of price, right now at the making this video, September 23rd, no, that's not the case. 100,000 sats is like, I don't know, $3 or $2.70 or something. But in the future, there's going to come a point when a sat is basically like $1. In other words, all your unit of account for all goods and services, when you price them in your head to try and determine value in terms of a commodity, a currency, you're going to think about it in sat, so instead of dollars. So it'll be like a haircut is 100 sats. But as time goes on, haircut's going to be 50 sats. And then when time goes on even more, haircut's going to be 11 sats. It's going to continue to go down and down and down because Bitcoin is deflationary. So you are incentivized to save money, and you are incentivized to be more competitive on the market for supplying goods and services. So companies and corporations can't just sell you garbage and junk, because the buyer, the consumer, is more incentivized to save and hold, because the currency is going to become more valuable over time. So they're only going to spend and buy things when they absolutely have to. So, junk food, gone. You better give me some high quality food, or I ain't going to waste my sats on this. Automobiles, you selling me junk automobile? Hell no. Nope, that ain't going to happen. You selling me a house? You mean this one bedroom box in the sky is $1 million? No. I'll just hold my Bitcoin until you come up with something better, et cetera, et cetera. So the deflationary aspect is going to really change a lot of things. But you have to start thinking about it in terms of sats. You have to start thinking about it in terms of a Bitcoin. Think of it like this. Here's another analogy that I think is really great. What do we call a $100 bill? A Benji. Okay, that's a name. We gave it a name because of Benjamin Franklin's faces on the bill. We call it a Benji. What's a Benji in terms of dollars? It's $100. Okay, well, how many cents are in a dollar? 100. Okay, so a Benji is 100 pennies, cents. Let me say it again. A Benjamin is 100 cents. Okay? If I say that to somebody like this individual I was talking to, they'd be like, oh yeah, I understand that. Yeah. Benjamin's $100 and a dollar is 100 cents. Okay, well, just start thinking about Bitcoin in those terms. Okay? A Bitcoin is 100 million sats. Okay? One Bitcoin is a Benji Bitcoin. And a sat is 100 million of those. Or a Bitcoin is 100 million sats. A sat is just 100 million of a Bitcoin. End of story. And by the way, there are actually names for denominations of sats all the way up to 100 million. I don't remember all of them, but there's like a I can't remember off the top of my head, like bits, and you can look it up. Look it up. There are actually named denominations like 1,000 sats and like 100,000 sats and then like 1,000,000 sats. They have their own names. So so that's like pennies, dimes, quarters, dollars, Benjis, blah blah blah. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. Just start thinking about it in those kind of terms, and you'll understand it a lot better. So anyway, that's been an interesting experience. Another story from the Bitcoin stories from the perspective of a full-blown Maxi. That was story number 2.